Please, we have all board members present, except for board member Schoenfelder, who is virtual this evening, along with Superintendent Josh. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Before us is the meeting agenda. Is there anything addition? I do have one addition that I'd like to add. Board member Schoenfelder wishes to resign as treasurer of the Redmond School Board. So where would you like to put that, Mr.
We'll call that 401A, so
Right.
the first business item.
Perfect, 401A. Anybody else have anything they'd like to, on the agenda? At that time, we will also be picking a new treasurer after that, at that point too. Hearing nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to approve the amended agenda as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Rowe, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Tiff. Any discussion? Since we have a board member virtual, I'll do a roll call vote. Ms. Ossendorf?
Aye.
Ms. Buck?
Aye.
Ms. Bjornstedt?
Aye.
Ms. Rowe?
Aye.
Ms. Schoenfelder?
Aye.
Ms. Tiff?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. The educational plan, and Ms. Bjornstedt is going to read our mission statement.
The mission of the Red Wing Public Schools is to educate and inspire all students as they realize their full potential and become respectful, responsible, and productive citizens.
Thank you. Recognition and upcoming events.
So Emily, tomorrow you have testing that begins, and I'd just like you to share how many students are.
We have 50 students taking the PSAT, actually in this room, and then we have a new testing center in H109 110 tomorrow morning. So 50 juniors.
So that's pretty good, so.
Yeah,
Roughly a third of the students take these tests.
Good, good.
So that's a good thing. Activity-wise, we're now into the midst of playoff seasons, the football team. Here on staff to play tomorrow, and the volleyball team is at home here on Wednesday, so those are activities that'll be coming up. Going forward, probably the next, and we'd have time before, but the Veterans Day program coming up on the 11th. Significant planning has been underway for that, so that's also good.
is the program on the 11th or the 18th?
Oh, sorry.
Friday the 8th.
It is Friday.
I think Veterans, the actual Veterans Day is the 11th.
Yep.
And we had a play. Anybody want to talk about the play? Yes.
Me, took my granddaughters, they loved it, they laughed. It was a great, great show.
Good.
Kids did a great job.
Wonderful. Anybody else have anything else? Sections are kind of going on now for some of our winger athletes. The volleyball, as you mentioned, football, soccer, and tennis, cross country, and soccer. Soccer's done. Yeah, that's right, soccer, there's right. So, we help support our wingers as they finish up their outdoor activities before turn school. All right. Anything else? We have public comment, and I know I have one. If there's anybody else wish for public comment, please fill out a form up there and send it in here. And then I'm gonna read to you our policy and how we handle public comment. The school board would like to provide interested community members an opportunity to provide appropriate public comment. We seriously consider all questions and concerns presented, but we'll follow protocols to ensure orderly operation of the meeting and the development of an appropriate response. Public may provide comment in person and sign in upon arrival, or public comment may be shared by emailing statement to jrbryant@rwps.org or bjascz BJASCZAK@rwps.org by noon, the day of the school board meeting. The statement must include the writer's name and address. Upon review of the appropriate edits as per expectation outlined in the public comment portion of the school board agenda, the individual will be invited to attend the meeting virtually and read their statement to the board during the public comment portion of the agenda, or in person. The following guidelines will be followed during public comment. We expect the comments to be limited to 3 minutes per person, and that a representative be selected to speak on behalf of a group of individuals attending the meeting for the same topic. School board members will listen to the public comment but will not discuss the topic at the meeting. The superintendent and/or school board chair may provide a response outlining steps the school district has taken or will take to address the concerns. A summary of the school district actions in response to public comment will be provided to the school board, individuals submitting public comment and/or public at a later date as appropriate. We expect the comments remain respectful and appropriate and not identify any current or former students, their families, or staff members by name. And our clerk here, Ms. Tiff, will keep keeping a clock. So once she'll let you know when there's 3 minutes, and the time will be up for that. Do you have, anybody else have a public comment? Thank you. First one I have is Amber Dawn Plank. Please join us up here and sit right there. Thank you. Welcome. Good evening. Welcome. Good evening.
Welcome, good evening. Can I start? As her teachers, principals, bus drivers, and her community leaders, it's true that I expect a lot out of you guys, but truth is honestly, I expect a million times more out of myself as a mother to a biracial child. So here I am. I'm Amber, and recently I told my 9-year-old daughter, Amma, to get her stuff ready for school, and she started telling me that she was worried if her bus driver was going to mess with her or the kids were going to call her another slur. She started crying uncontrollably, and before I knew it, I'm rubbing her back and kissing her forehead helplessly as my daughter started hyperventilating, having a panic attack on the kitchen floor, and nothing I could do could console her. Try as I may, my hugs and kisses will not take away the damage that has already been inflicted upon my child by the refusal of 256 to prevent her torment. It's public knowledge that you guys were sued a decade ago over a racially motivated event condoned at the school, which was proof that racism is prevalent here. As leaders and elected positions of authority, you guys had a duty to properly educate everyone involved and every child in the future about inclusiveness, discrimination, and diversity to ensure that the environment of racism and hate that festered because District 256 turned a blind eye would start to heal. In turn, that proactiveness would hopefully allow us to learn how to foster an environment where all children feel loved, safe, and accepted. This district has had more than a decade to do that, and you have failed to do so. Now I'm sending my child to a district where she's psychologically tormented over the color of her skin and where she's been forced to defend herself physically against several bullies, where principals admit that current policies are not good enough and a bus admits that she's a victim and still punishes her like she's a perpetrator. How much more do we expect a 9-year-old to take? I'm tired of hearing about policy. I can't stay silent. It's not an option. I'm here to hold everybody accountable. I'm here because Don Plank raised me with the concept that if you see something wrong, and you do nothing about it, you're a co-conspirator. You're just as guilty. Your silence is compliance. Your silence shows that you're complacent. Silence in the face of oppression makes you an accessory. I'm a mom standing before you telling you that her daughter has been called the N-word by 7 kids this year alone. I want public record that my daughter has been called burnt biscuit, KFC girl, poop, and poopy. They said poopy so much last year that she would answer to it. They call her poop so often she's asked me if all Black people smell or if it's just her. She asked me to start buying her body spray last year at 8 years old because my baby was worried that she smelled. They called her roasted marshmallow and burnt marshmallow, monkey, gorilla, and ape. They have asked her why her skin is the color of dirt and why her mom doesn't give her a bath. She told me it'd be easier if she wasn't Black and easier if she wouldn't have black hair. She asked me, why is this her life? She made the comment before that it'd be easier if she didn't wake up. Now, because of the district's inability to hold the parents of these children accountable, I have my 9-year-old in therapy for anxiety. I'm telling you all this because as decent humans, you have a moral obligation and a civic duty to rectify this. You cannot tell anyone in good conscience that you yourself were not informed that this is an issue. And if you choose to still do nothing after today, you are the ones who look in the mirror knowing that you choose to be an accomplice and you're just as much to blame. And I'll proudly go die on that hill. You either be the change that you want to be in the world or you're a co-conspirator. You got to choose one. I'm asking y'all to hire an independent third-party company to do a non-biased study and interview all impacted students and produce a report of those findings. Know better, do better. Thank you.
Kelly, is it Kujak?
Yes.
Come on forward, please. Would you like to- Go ahead. Welcome. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. I'm here in support of what's going on with the situation with Amber and her daughter. I have encouraged her as a community member and a mother of biracial children myself that have all attended this school district. I have 9 children, so each one has had their own issues at different varying times. But I think it's important enough. I do know that there's a plan in place, it looks like, for inclusive education that addresses these issues. I don't know all the rabbit holes that we could go down with it. I've done a little bit of research. It looks like there's a lot of things that impact this, and but it looks like there's some kind of, because I'm reading here, it says the Director of Teaching and Learning will periodically include in-service training for all staff members in the implementation of the inclusive educational program. I don't really know exactly what that means, but I'm just here to ask, is that something that is being done here? Is it something that can be ramped up? I don't know. I just think that we could be doing a better job of maybe talking with our students about these issues. And I think there's more kids being bullied than just Amasai. Obviously, it could be for various reasons. So I'm just here in support of that and what you all could maybe do, or we could do as a community to, I mean, I know there's been a lot of things that have been done already. I've seen a lot of really positive changes. So I don't know what the answer is exactly, but I would like to see a better job being done.
Thank you for your comments. Anything you want to add at this point, or if not, we'll okay, is there anybody else that wishes to speak at the public comment?
Craig was the. I'm going to withdraw that.
Okay, nobody else? Okay, thank you all those.
Oh, Kim?
Fill out a form, Kim, please.
Just put my name on the list.
Yeah, you can fill out the form and give it to us after you talk to.
Okay. Hello, have a seat. Were you present when I read the,
I'm familiar.
okay. Welcome, and good evening.
Good evening.
State your name and address, please, and then you can begin.
Kim Hudson, 613 21st Street. It's quick. I just want to reiterate some things I spoke about this past school year about why it's so important to implement these type of things. So some of this can die down, what Amber was just talking about, like the Black history, celebrating all cultures. Like, this is important because little kids really don't know what they saying, to be honest. They learning it from home or TV or family members or friends of family members. So that's all I wanted to say. This is what I was saying last year at the last school board meeting I attended, why this is so important, because believe it or not, this town is becoming more diverse. You can't escape it. And it's a way the school district got to make it work for everybody. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Have somebody else that wants to speak too? Okay. Ashley Blue,
Yes,
good evening and welcome.
thank you. Welcome. I'm here with Amber, supporting her and everything going on, but my idea is something that I've spoke with Principal Jen Grove about. My daughter is a Burnsider. We used to live in Rochester, and she went to Gage Elementary School, and they hosted family engagement nights. And they were so beneficial for our community. We would have speakers come. We would all get together, once a month or once every quarter. I don't remember exactly. And it was just a really awesome night to just parents could interact with other parents. We could see our kids as hanging out with other kids, and my idea was that Red Wing could host a inclusivity night at Burnside Elementary School because this has been such a prominent problem, and it really hurts to see these kids going through these things. I started tearing up listening to Amber speak earlier. And the idea is that we could have some speakers, people of different backgrounds and ethnicities, come in and talk about how these words impact them. And then the parents can choose if they want to show up to this kind of thing. So we're not forcing anything down anybody's throat. We're not, trying to change the way people are in their own personal lives as the school, right? I may want to do that outside of you guys, but that's not your guys' job to do that, right? So these people, they could show up and they could choose to have their kids hear about these things more than just through social media, more than just an email saying, hey, this happened, please talk to your kids if you want to, it would give the kids an opportunity to see faces that maybe look like theirs, more than just the majority white staff that we have at Red Wing, yeah, that's kind of it. Thank you.
What school was this in Rochester?
Gage Elementary
What
School.
was it?
Gage.
Gage?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your comment.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay, appreciate everybody's public comment. We'll move on. As we stated, we don't respond at this meeting. So, National School Bus Safety Week. So, National School Bus Safety Week, it's a real big deal across the nation as far as school bus safety because we're transferring our kids back to school. There's always a certain number of individuals that end up with stop arm violations, which is a moving violation, can be a serious offense. The big thing is just any time that we are around buses, particularly with vehicles, just use caution, slow down, stop, pay attention. You can't be in that much of a hurry. So it's just a time we want to just make sure we recognize that, bring that to the fore. Thank you. As a former school bus driver, it was frustrating to open your your door and your stop arm goes out, the lights are flashing, and somebody's driving because you're worried about the children getting on and off the bus. Please abide by the fact that there's a school bus there, you're driving, it may be stopped. So thank you. Administrative reports. So there's administrative reports that are in your packet. There's several pages that I'm not going to read through in its entirety. But, activities, winter activities registration is getting going on this. And as a note, we were one of 32 schools throughout the state to receive an AED through that MSHL grant that we had applied for a month or 6 weeks ago, so that was good. Buildings and grounds, most significant thing is the ice arena is getting cranked up. With communications, there's a school has a social media comment policy, so that's just something we want to be cautious of. We want to make sure that you share your posts and show your support, connect with others. So that's a piece that's there. Veterans Day commemoration, November 8th, and again, that is done. They always host it on the Friday prior to Veterans Day, which is Monday this year. Community Ed, there's again, kind of a summary of some of the items that were there. STAR reporting from Human Resources, so what that does is it matches up all of the teachers' licenses with the areas in which they're teaching, so it goes through as rather an involved piece that is there. Just recently, we were able to hire 9 special ed paras in the last month. We still have 10 remaining, but 10 is a lot better than 11. Yep. For a while, we were at 18, so working to find some of that kind of stuff. Nursing services, they had a flu clinic or a shot clinic recently, so there was about 100 kids that received flu vaccine, and staff were also well represented in there. And then
Care Dental Clinic is holding dental clinics for each school in the next several weeks. There's a new mobile dental device or vehicle that will be used to perform these exams, so we're coming around to various schools. Special services there, so that's kind of the primary pieces there. And we are in the midst of a math curriculum review that's going to get cranked up here as well. So, and then as we stated, we've got about 50 juniors that are taking the pre-sat tomorrow.
Very good. Any questions at all? Lieutenant Josh? I'll just add, anybody in the audience or anybody listening out there, they're looking for some part-time work. We need some parents to help us up here at all the buildings. Certainly, we have some openings. We'd love to have people come up and work for us because we see the good things that are going on and be part of our team. So keep that in mind if you're looking for someone. We'll move on to committee reports. Anybody have any committee reports?
I do have a question
Yes.
about the negotiations committee where it's gonna get together.
Yes, we do. And I went short week and whatnot, and kind of missed the whole.
Okay, I'm just glad I didn't miss
Oh,
any.
no, we haven't missed anything. That is some coming this year.
Oh, Jennifer, negotiations. Oh,
No, we got some that are running a lot.
excuse me. Anybody else have any? I think LMC is meeting tomorrow night. So. No, thank you. Should have known. Consent agenda. If anybody has anything they wish to pull from the consent agenda? We have a number of items.
I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda as.
Motion by Ms. Rowe, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by
Dr. Jennifer.
Jonathan. Like I said, motion by Ms. Stiff. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Bjornstead. Any discussion? We'll do a roll call vote. Ms. Rowe?
Aye.
Ms. Stiff?
Aye.
Ms. Schoenfelder?
Aye.
Ms. Ossendorf?
Aye.
Ms. Buck?
Aye.
Ms. Bjornstead?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you very much. Donations and grants, Mr. Josh.
So there's several here. The American Legion Post 54 from Red Wing, that's donated $250 to the Red Wing food shelf. And then there are 4 different individuals that have provided memorials to Bart Hansen Memorial. So those are William and Christy Lynn from Redmond, Washington, Barbara Craig from Minnetonka, Gene Schnook from Hebron, Maryland, and John and Sheila Orford from Medina.
I want to thank each of these organizations and people for the generous donation. What's the board's wishes? The motion to approve the resolution. Moved by Ms. Ossendorf. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Rowe. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Ms. Bjornstead?
Aye.
Ms. Buck?
Aye.
Ms. Ossendorf?
Aye.
Ms. Stiff?
Aye.
Ms. Schoenfelder?
Aye.
Ms. Rowe?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you very much. 41A. Accepting the resignation as treasurer of the Redmond School Board. Ms. Schoenfelder? Ms. Schoenfelder, you wish to say anything?
Only that I wish to step down as treasurer at this time.
Thank you. So is there a motion to accept her resignation as treasurer of the Redmond School Board? Moved by Ms. Bjornstead,
Second.
second by Ms. Buck. Further discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Buck?
Aye.
Ms. Ossendorf?
Aye.
Ms. Bjornstead?
Aye.
Ms. Schoenfelder?
Aye.
Ms. Stiff?
Aye.
Ms. Rowe?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Motion carried 7-0. Now is there a motion to appoint the new treasurer of the Redmond? Yes.
I will nominate Tamara as our.
Motion by Ms. Stiff to appoint board member Rowe, Ms. Rowe, as treasurer for the remainder of this calendar year. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Bjornstead. Any further discussion? Any other requests? Any other nominations for treasurer? Any other nominations? Hearing none, I'll We would have a motion on the table for Ms. Rowe. Roll call vote. Ms. Rowe? Ms. Schoenfelder?
Aye.
Ms. Bjornstead?
Aye.
Ms. Ossendorf?
Aye.
Ms. Buck?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carried. Field trip request for 2026 band and choir concert tour. Is there anybody here to speak on that?
I am,
Who's I am?
John Bina.
Hi, John, can't see you.
Hang on here, sorry. I'm a Luddite when it comes to technology.
So John, could you please provide a kind of a summary or kind of what this might look like?
I'm speaking on behalf of Scott Perro, who I think is trying to log on furiously right now, so I'm going to try and hit all of the bullet points here. I think the board is well aware in March of this past school year, we had a very successful concert tour of Italy. We returned with a great deal of interest. So what the board has in front of it this evening is an application for a similar experience, in this case for spring break of 2026 in Germany and Austria. We are in the process of finalizing an itinerary. What you have is sort of a 10,000-foot view. And as we sit here right now, I'll just circle back here. Scott and I learned an awful lot in the process in the last 20 months about our community and people who are available to help us. In anticipation of the question of
Locked up. Can't hear you, John.
Rachel, could you say something just so we know if this is our system or his?
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
am I back?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know where I glitched out there. Long story short, I think we have systems in place with individuals and our foundations in the community. For any student that now wishes to have this opportunity, I think we've got a process in place that if they want to have this opportunity and have some skin in the game, we've got some things in place to allow this to happen. So we're casting a wider net than we did in spring of 2024. Scott and I are hopeful that the board looks favorably upon this experience. Without putting words in her mouth, I think Jennifer might be able to comment about the value and the experiences the children had this past March. And Scott, it looks like Scott has logged on. We're happy to answer any other questions that you might have.
Mr. Perro, do you want to speak at all? Scott?
Very, but we had a really successful trip last time around. After having several domestic, going to Chicago a couple times, Nashville, there was a history of traveling domestically as well in the past before I came. We actually took I think almost just as many, if not a few more kids overseas to Europe than we Chicago. There's really a need. There's a huge interest in this type of performance tour. And for our first time taking, we had nearly 60 students and we had almost another 20 adults with. So the kids were very, very well looked over, and the student to adult ratio was fantastic. I think the kids really had a heightened sense of global citizenship. And, the opportunities that they were given, to perform were truly once in a lifetime. So we hope that you'll look favorably upon the tour requests that we have.
Okay, yeah, thank you. We talked briefly about this at the workshop. We talked about, going through the superintendent first, but you kind of explained it here, and he was, we'd like to keep him bring it forward to him, so if he had any questions and stuff like that. So in the future, please communicate and work with Superintendent Joshik on anything that comes up like this again. Just doing it.
Can you tell me a little bit more about your plans to help students who might have some financial difficulty in being able to go on this trip? So it's more, so everyone can be included who wants to go.
Scott, do you want to handle that?
Sure. So first of all, we actually had students that fundraised nearly half of their trip the last time around. So the trip ended up coming to about $3,800 for per student, which I know sounds, it's kind of sticker shocking a little bit at first, but for European travel, a week overseas in Europe is actually a pretty good price when you consider so many of the meals are paid for and attractions and all of that too. But we had students that were, bagging groceries, on the weekends over at Family Fair that really raised quite a bit of money. We also have dipped our toe into the world of some of the giving organizations in town. And that is something that we think that we've forged some pretty good relationships with some potential donors to help specifically for students that have need-based scholarship concerns.
So there is a plan for students who might not be able to do some of the fundraising things like bagging groceries because they're either helping out with childcare at home or they actually have jobs that make it difficult for them to do those things.
Yeah, and we, last time, admittedly, with it being our first time around, some of the organizations that we talked about, we were just a little too late in the game. So we do feel like we have a better plan and we have some relationships established that are going to help us with that specifically.
And so are some of these things starting this year in anticipation of next year?
Yeah, so part of the reason we want to get on it so early is just to make sure that we spread out those payments as much as possible. I think the earlier we can get people into the payments, the smaller the payments are, is helpful. And also we can get on fundraising a lot sooner. A lot of our fundraising happened, I believe, last spring. Would have been a year before that. We had a little bit in that spring before the summer, but really a lot of it had happened that fall beforehand. So if we can get started, as soon as possible here on the fundraising aspect, we're just going to give students a lot more of an opportunity.
I would just say that the experience was amazing for the students, for the adults that were able to go. The learning that took place culturally, being able to just learn about the art, the music, having the experience of playing in another country, performing for people that so appreciated it in these amazing spaces. I really appreciate the two of you bringing this forward sooner than last time so that there is the extra effort to make sure that all students who want to go can go. But they did a good job of that last time too. We had, one of my favorite parts was sitting on the airplane and having kids around me who had never been on a plane gasp as we took off. So this is a once in a lifetime experience for many kids. And I just think it's really cool that these two are putting in the extra effort. This is not, this is a lot of work to be able to do this. And so I support it.
Yeah, speaking of airplanes, I just going on a few. The worst part of me is they take off, they dip down. Oh, that just gets me. I can imagine being the first time on it. But the only thing I'll make is before, we'll probably pass it tonight, but before the next board meeting, if you two would reach out to our superintendent to touch base with him about what's going on, since he's new to the area here, so he can be involved, at least looking at through the eyes of the district and that. So if he has anything pertaining to that, he can bring back to this board. But you would do that before the next meeting, which is November 4th.
Sounds good.
So, what's the board wish to do, Mr. Joshua? Do you have any questions?
I do not. I would recommend that you approve this preliminary request for their 2026 band concert.
Okay, and then meet with you to discuss. Okay, we'll work with them. That's the request. Is there a
I'll make the motion.
motion by Ms. Stiff to do that?
Second.
Second by who? Ms. Ossendorf. Okay, do a roll call vote. Ms. Schoenfelder?
Aye.
Ms. Ossendorf?
Aye.
Ms. Stiff?
Aye.
Ms. Buck?
Aye.
Ms. Roll?
Aye.
Ms. Bjornstedt?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Good luck. We've heard many great things about that trip. And let's see if we can exceed that this next one. So, good luck.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Go ahead there, Superintendent Joshik.
I just wanted to see if Mr. Emery happened to be online here. So the field trip request for the 2024 National FFA Convention, my recommendation that we approve that. There's 4 students who will be going, and it's a very short turnaround. They were a little delayed in getting everything ultimately to meet, but they actually go this week, so I would think the board would be willing to approve that. They've got all of their funding secured, plans are made, so they're in good shape.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve that field trip.
motion by Ms. Ossendorf, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Rowe. Any discussion? Hearing none, start with Ms. Bjornstedt,
Aye.
Ms. Rowe,
Aye.
Ms. Ossendorf,
Aye.
Ms. Schoenfelder,
Aye.
Ms. Buck,
Aye.
Ms. Stiff,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Motion carried. Thank you. Hockey game.
So right now it's listed as a field trip request, but in reality it's an overnight stay for the high school boys hockey program. They've got back-to-back games on Friday, November 22nd at Greenway, and then the next day at Moose Lake. So it just makes sense to allow them to stay overnight rather than drive back. So my recommendation would be approve their request for an overnight stay.
Okay, further request, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Stiff. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Rowe. Any discussion? Hearing none, begin with Ms. Buck.
Aye.
Ms. Schoenfelder,
Aye.
Ms. Rowe,
Aye.
Ms. Bjornstedt,
Aye.
Ms. Ossendorf,
Aye.
Ms. Stiff,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Thank you, motion carried. Superintendent evaluation form.
So with this, the last board meeting, we had Barb Dorn was here. She provided a summary evaluation tool based on the criteria that the board put forward. So she's provided that, so it'd be my recommendation that we approve that evaluation tool. We'll start with that process actually in December.
Okay, and that will be on December 2nd, closed session, unless the superintendent wishes it to be open. And then we'll do a summary on December 16th of our findings as a board.
And that's just the initial part, was on the remainders for the rest.
Yeah, this is the midterm, so the mid-year. Values. And the second one will be done in spring, late spring, or late summer, late winter, early spring. Get that right. One of the other. There a motion to approve this process?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Bjorn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Rowe. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Ms. Stiff?
Aye.
Ms. Schoenfelder?
Aye.
Ms. Ossendorf?
Aye.
Ms. Buck?
Aye.
Ms. Rowe?
Aye.
Ms. Bjornstedt?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay. 2025 MSBA conference.
So the MSBA conference is Thursday, January 16th and Friday, January 17th. And then on the Wednesday prior, there's some pre-conference workshops. It is strongly recommended that as many board members as possible attend. So we wanted to make sure that information was available to the respective board members as we approach the election on November 5th. I will be reaching out to the elected members right after, as soon as we have results, and then this will be one thing that I'll be pointing out, so that way people can schedule accordingly. So we just wanted to make sure people have that information. There is no action required.
Okay. Thank you for staying on top of that. District assessment testing update. Ellie.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Let me get my screen shared. I'm Emily Seafelt. I'm the Director of Teaching and Learning, and I'm also the District Assessment Coordinator. So more of the assessment coordination piece this evening. I'm just going to give an overview of district assessments for Redmond Public Schools. This graphic is one that I like because it kind of lays out everything really well, what that pyramid of assessment looks like. State testing is that top, that's the MCAs, the access testing that we're familiar with. District testing we'll go over as well this evening. That's our fast bridge and our screening system. And then classroom informed instruction, and that is your classroom assessments at the teacher level. So for state versus district, state, we have MCAs that is one time a year. It is designed to be a summarization of the state standards. It occurs after learning. It is given in reading, math, and science. It starts in 3rd grade. So reading is 3rd through 8th grade and then 10th grade. Math is 3rd through 8th grade and then 11th grade. Science is just given 3 times. It's 5th grade, 8th grade, and then it's actually called high school science. It's not tied to a grade, but most of our students are 10th graders. It's given in our biology class. So when you are enrolled in biology is when you take the high school science. So occasionally we do have 9th graders that take it as well. Access testing is state testing to monitor students in their progress for learning English. And that is given in reading, listening, writing, and speaking to all students that receive EL services. District, we do FastBridge. That is a universal screening tool that we use 3 times a year. So 3 times a year, we use that to inform instruction and planning. It also helps us to identify students who might need additional academic support or enrichment. It is also used as progress monitoring. So students that might be receiving intervention services, it can be used to progress monitor their growth. And that can occur anywhere from 1 to 4 times a month. And then we also have career and college readiness that it's not really state, it's not really district. I put it under there. It's national testing. We in our district do PSAT, the ACT, and we have advanced placement courses as well. MCA readings. This is our last 3 years that we have right now going back. If you go on Minnesota Report Card, it will do a data point for 2021, but none of the 2021 scores were reported or counted that year is the best way to describe that. So I also have the number because I thought this might be a question. So we had 7.9% opt out of MCA reading. That does equate to 92 students that opted out of reading this year. Math is our highest one for opt-outs it was this year. We had 128 students opt out of math. This is the overall proficiency, so it's not broken down by grade. We would need much longer time to dive in that way. I can say that the majority of the opt-outs happen in that 11th grade math MCA. And science, we had 57 students opt out of science as well. One thing to note is there is a brand new MCA science that starts this spring. So when that happens, you don't actually compare it to any previous scores because it's following different state standards. So there's a new science MCA that is starting this spring. And then in the next couple of years, they're actually all up again. So there'll be a new version of reading. There'll be a new version of math as well. For FastBridge, we were actually fortunate. So we've actually used FastBridge for a little over a decade in Red Wing. And with the READ Act, the state actually only lets you use FastBridge or Dibbles. So we had a really nice, easy transition because we've already used FastBridge. And we already met a lot of the requirements that the READ Act implemented for screening. So we do an assessment in there. These are the 3 times a year assessments. Early reading is for kindergarten and 1st grade. And early math is also for kindergarten and 1st grade. And then we have something called fast-tracked reading. That's grades 2 through 10. Depending on your grade level, it's different things, but it includes 2 different assessments. Everybody takes something called A reading. The second assessment depends on your grade level. Fast-tracked math is grades 2 through 10. CBM, which stands for curriculum-based measure, which still doesn't really give a great explanation. But the CBM is students reading out loud 3 different passages to an adult, and they mark when they started and when they stopped reading and any errors. And what that gives you is it gives you their fluency rate. So how many words they read correct per minute. That's where we are right now. This will look a little bit different in the fall. We already have screened high schoolers for quite a few years, but we'll have some actual requirements that go through 12th grade coming from MDE. They haven't released what they are yet. There's some new dyslexia screening requirements as well. It impacts this year grades 2 and 3 as an additional subtest that we'll actually give starting in the winter of this year. But there are some things coming that they just haven't fully decided on yet at the state level. So this is early reading. If you look at this, because it goes back It's given 3 times a year. We have this year's fall, last year's over the 3 windows, and then to the spring of 23. So these are all overalls. These are all the grades K and 1 combined.
What do those numbers mean?
41% proficient in the fall of 24.
40% of what number? Of 100?
Yep. So 41% of the students that were tested in early reading this fall in kindergarten and first grade met proficiency levels for their grade level. And it does break it down further. So it's actually 4 different levels in FastBridge. There's does not meet, partially meets, meets, and exceeds. So this is just meets and exceeds together. Because we have a large window of students that might be partial in the fall. They'll receive intervention services, and we get to track them, kind of their growth throughout the year. There's a growth report that's really great. There just isn't a growth report to pull in the fall when we are starting with our fall scores.
Well, this is essentially, other than the first day, school kindergarten.
Yep.
They're brand new kids.
Yep.
So this is their first push.
Mm-hmm. Auto reading is grades 4 through 12. Auto reading is higher level phonics skills is what it tests, and it tests it on the computer. So that is, you can kind of see where we have been as well. So this year's fall, so the overall proficiency of all the kids tested grades 4 through 12 was 62%. That's to say 10th grade, by the way. We do have a couple juniors and seniors that take it as well, but it's not a requirement by the grade. A reading, test comprehension, vocabulary. That is where we've been for our last 5 data points. So overall, 57% to start the school year. CBM, that's that fluency, as at 46% to start the school year. And we're only in our second year of doing the CBM 5th through 7th grade. So 5th through 7th grade was added last school year. I do actually anticipate this one being one of the requirements going into high school, but it is currently only norm reference through 8th grade.
So how does that work to get all the kids tested?
So how we do this at Burnside and Twin Bluff, we call it the SWAT team, for lack of a better term. And so our Title I intervention, our ADSES teams all work together at the beginning of the year. So we do this, actually we start FastBridge testing, by the way, the second week of school. The window is really, really quick. And so they will take over the library. We'll have 5 adults in there, and teachers have a time that they show up with their students, and they listen in, because it is, you are listening to 3 1-minute reads, and then marking that on the computer as well. So we do it that way. It's not done by the classroom teacher anymore. That takes a lot of time, and it's really difficult to do when you've known the kids for a week, to be one-on-one with a kid and be like, okay, everybody over here, just be really quiet. Yeah. It doesn't really work. So that is how we do that. So it's done through a SWAT team.
That's why I asked.
And it takes 2.5 days, about 2.5 days in each place. So.
And then in the middle school and high school, or the middle school.
Yeah. So the same team, they start at Burnside or they'll start at Twin Bluff. It's the same group of people at all of the spaces. So.
Hi, Emily. Could you maybe speak a little bit, when you look back on the previous slides and even on this CBM, it looks like 60% of our kids aren't proficient in reading.
Mm-hmm.
Could you speak a little bit on that and what that means, why that is, and what you do with that 60%?
So that is where we get back to why the state implemented the READ Act, and training all teachers on the science of reading. And I think I've mentioned maybe before, we have an entire generation of teachers that went to college and were not taught the science of reading. They were taught something called balanced literacy, which is if reading feels good, you're going to become a great reader, which works for about 20% of students. Otherwise, it is explicit structured literacy, which is why you see kind of that consistent 41, 45% here for the fluency of our students. What has been implemented, and we are hoping, and we'll see those changes even from fall to winter when we can see the progress, which is the growth report. So as I said, we have all the teachers doing letters training that are phase 1 teachers. We have implemented something called UFly, which is a phonics program, basics phonics program in kindergarten and first grade and second grade this year. It's also used for intervention as well for older students. Depending where students fall on this threshold, you have different levels of what I call intervention. You sometimes have, when we look at our FastBridge data, you can have a class that actually, it'll tell you like it's a whole class intervention. So this whole class qualifies for phonics intervention. So that's going to change some of your instruction that you do at the classroom level. We also use this to identify students for Title I services and ANSYS services as well to receive more of that small group reading intervention as well.
Other questions?
This is early math. I will tell you one unique thing about early math, which would be nice to dive into the subtest sometimes. The subtests change every time you give the early tests. So every time you give early reading and early math, the subtests don't actually stay the same throughout the year. So when Teresa's look, you're not actually ever comparing apples to apples because they change what's tested each time. So that one, when we dive in, it's really great to actually look at the individual subtests to dive in a little bit deeper because it's changing what it does each time. A math is our math one that is for grades 2 through 10th grade. And then anything on FastBridge before I move on to some of the career and college ones? Yeah.
I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit about the difference between MCA and FastBridge scores. We're seeing lower scores with the MCA than the...
So there is a correlation. It's a 0.65 correlation with the benchmarks we're currently using. In my assessment group across the state, FastBridge has released you can do custom benchmarks, which is what we're going to explore more for next school year, because custom benchmarks have a closer correlation to MCAs. So they are correlated. As well. I will say about MCAs, one thing about MCAs, it can be really hard to convince a kid that MCAs matter, especially when you get to that at the end of the year. We'll see that with our dropouts as well. So that's part of that testing culture that Mr. Fuchs had talked about as well, is where is the importance in that, because it is hard to convince a student that matters. They can see their growth in FastBridge. We share that with them. They get to see that. They get to celebrate that. But for example, the envelopes are in the office right now being mailed out. The MCA reports are given to us in late August and they get mailed out, and you're in a new year. So. Yep. You are required to take the MCAs no matter what. So they used to have a rule that if you were a newcomer and had only been here for a couple years, you did not need to take the MCAs because you also have to take the access test. They have gotten rid of that. And we can print translated directions, but that is the only accommodations we can give for non-English speakers on the MCAs.
Us as a district currently has over 100 students.
Mm-hmm.
All be tested.
Yeah.
We've got over 100 students that English is their second language. They're taking these tests. Makes that very difficult.
Is there a world where we're all required to do, as districts in Minnesota, we all do this progress monitor testing with like FastBridge or some other similar test 3 times a year with information that we actually use live every day to help improve our instruction and help improve student achievement. Is there a world where the MCA goes away because we do these tests, we have the data, and when are we going to just be able to use this data to report how we're doing as a district versus?
I haven't heard any updates on that. We can always hope, but we are having more oversight with that. As I said, you can only use 2 companies now from the state for your universal screening. So FastBridge or Dibbles are the only 2. And then the state does say exactly what assessments to give in it. And there's actually even an additional subtest that we do as well. So, but I haven't heard anything in any of my DAC trainings about that. So.
I'll just say, since our last time we talked about MCAs, nobody's convinced me since then that we should retain. Since FastBridge and others have everybody participating and they get instant results, instead of MCAs here, and we share it with them next school year. So you can opt out of MCA, which brings down the total score.
It does bring down our total score because an opt-out the state puts in as it does not meet.
So why don't we consider not doing the MCAs and focus more on,
Because we are not allowed to do that.
well, that's.
Maybe that needs to be a
That would be-
legislative action
Just a
point.
minute here. Are there any schools not doing that?
No, because you are not allowed to do that. You are mandated, it's
That's a
state
legislative-
requirement.
That's a legislative priority, because why, some are opting out or just taking them and bringing the whole score down, and we making the whole school look, low,
Mm-hmm.
because either not participating or not concentrating on them, how's that?
Yep. And they're designed to be a accountability measure for the district to the state on state standards is what MCAs.
We push to,
But they do now have a lot of oversight now into the universal screening as well. And sorry, Jim, but they are, just so you know, they are working to actually get immediate access to our FastBridge results as well. That did come up at one of my meetings this year.
and everybody's taking them,
Mm-hmm.
everybody's doing it, and benefiting, growing on it, by should be focusing our attention and time
Yeah.
on that instead of outdated MCA program
Mhm.
that is not meeting the needs of our students, and the FastBridge and other assessment options are available. Instant
Yeah.
knowledge of where they're at.
Yep. And FastBridge is what we use because you can pull reports that'll put kids in, like, this is the intervention they need. This is their level. You can pull individual reports that show every single skill they need to work on, which ones they've mastered. So there is a lot of great information that we get from FastBridge.
So what happens if we opt out of taking these courses?
We're not allowed to do
What
that.
happens if you opt out? What are the penalties? We're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, we're not allowed. I can't promote it. Like, we can't promote it either. So,
Let's push to have that looked at as something for.
but when you're at your legislative things, it'd be a great topic.
It would. Thank you.
Yep. So,
And I'm not trying to catch you in a word.
no, I know. PSAT. So last school year, we had 41 students take the PSAT. 78% met or exceeds in reading and writing, and 49% met or exceeds in math. 96% of the students that took the PSAT last year were national merit eligible. So we take the national merits qualifying test for our PSAT, and then they can apply for scholarships. So 98% were able to do that. We have PSAT tomorrow, and we have 50 students taking that. ACT in the spring of 2023, we had 83 students. Our average score was 22.7, and that is 73% of them were above the Minnesota average. You're going to see it drop, and here's why. So last year, 58 students took it. The average score is 23.6, 77% were above the Minnesota average. Why it is decreasing, there is currently only one university we can find in the state of Minnesota that requires the ACT. ACT and SAT are no longer required for the majority of universities anymore. They sometimes can help you with scholarships and things like that, but there's only one that we have found that requires the ACT, and it's a very small university in New Ulm.
Colleges in the Midwest require ACTs. Some people may go to Wisconsin.
Yeah, some do. I'll have to look into that. I'm sure there are still some, but most no longer require. They do a more, which I think is a great thing, a more broader view of a student than just single test score to enroll into college now. So, but just so you can see where our national average is 19.5, the Minnesota average is 20.8. And we do offer it. It's still, it's nice to offer it. You want to offer it. It's also required by the state that you either offer the ACT or the SAT during a school day.
Questions on that? Okay.
Advanced placement courses. Last school year, we had 253 enrollments. That equated to 146 different students taking AP courses last year. 157 exams were taken, and 67% had a score of 3+. What's 1 to 5, 3 and higher will earn you college credit. You will also see that our how many tests are taken doesn't match enrollments because 3 of our AP classes are also concurrent enrollment. So you don't need to take the AP. You're already earning college credit while you take that class. And this year we have 247 enrollments for 153 students. Test registration closes next Friday, and then I'll kind of know where we are for that. So.
Students who take an AP class have to take
No.
the AP test.
Nope. We do not require you to take an AP test. So I just send the registration information out to everybody for the classes that we offer. We've actually had a couple independent study APs offered as well that are set up a little bit differently. For like, it might be an off year for art, so we might have an art independent study. So Because we have some that are offered every year and we have some that are every other year for AP courses.
Okay. That's it.
That's it. Any questions?
Any more questions for Steve?
Thank you, Emily. The testing stuff is monumental. It's such a huge undertaking. And both for the kids, the families, and the staff, so thanks for working.
You're welcome.
It's good to hear a positive thing on the Fast Bridge and then the ACT and SAT. I remember when Kelsey and Manny took ACTs back in that day.
Yeah.
They made there on a Saturday. They're all nervous about it. Yeah, they did them. That's great. They were both Minnesota average and the US average.
Well, and it's nice now that you can take the ACT during your school day. So
Right.
it's Tuesday, March 11th this year.
And I think when my daughter took it 20 years ago, that was on a Saturday.
Yeah. They still have those at national test centers, but we do something called district testing, and so we were able to offer during the day.
Did it here on Saturday. So thank you.
Oh.
Any other questions? Okay, superintendent report.
Don't have a lot. Busing continues to be an issue. It's something that we continue to work on. We've got a form that we've created to help track the busing. Because we've had too many times where buses haven't shown up or they've been late and that leaves parents in alert. We've also struggled a little bit with special transportation at times. So that's including extracurricular activities. So that's something that I continue to work on. Something fun that I did last Thursday, I got to experience digging rat potatoes out at Prairie Island. That was a totally new experience. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. Got to be around with a lot of great people. It was a beautiful day. So that was something that was unique to my experience. That was not anything I'd ever done before, but it was a fun thing to learn. So that was, like I said, that was good. Kind of nice here to have a few days over the NBA break to get caught up on a few things. Coming up here now next week on Monday and Tuesday, Monday through Wednesday, I'll be out of the office because I'm going to take a couple of days of vacation, and then we've got a conference that I'll be attending up in Moorhead. So I'm going to make the loop and get that taken care of. So there's 3 of us that are attending that training session up in Moorhead. So other than that, we're just trying to get things finished up with the audit. Lisa's been working hard with that, so getting closer all the time is just a lot of work. So other than that, that's about it. Very good. We'll enjoy your couple of days off. So day off, whatever it is. Yes.
What is that training on?
The training. So we have within our student information system, Synergy, that's it's Mars, which is basically all of our reporting of our student data to the state. And we got to make sure we have all that accurate and correct, because if we don't have students entered in there correctly, it impacts the funding. So I've done I was a March coordinator for a long time, so that was beneficial. So Linda Johnson is going to be attending that as well. I wanted to go with her, so that way if we had questions, we could ask them jointly to make sure that we do have the processes in place, because it's easy to miss something, and if we do make an error on something like that, it can have a big impact on it.
Anything else? Anybody else have anything? What else do we have? Upcoming meetings and future topics. We have our, that's in December. We have our student taxation. So next meeting is November 4th, day before the elections. The workshop at 5 and school board meeting at 6. We have agenda meeting tomorrow morning at 8. So, hearing nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Rowe, is there a second? I'll second. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Ms. Schoenfelder?
Aye.
Ms. Ossendorf?
Aye.
Ms. Rowe?
Aye.
Ms. Buck?
Aye.
Ms. Stiff?
Aye.
Ms. Bjornstead?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We are adjourned. Thank you. And we got a